We are back. Another episode of Unscripted, the Michigan State podcast presented by the Field of 68. My co-host here, Gregory Waddell. I am Carter Elliott. And you know what, Greg? All in all, I thought that we were going to start this episode on a very sad note. I'm not going to lie to you. You know I'm a little pessimistic. You know I'm a little bit negative at times. And I thought that Gonzaga was going to absolutely blow our doors off. I'm sorry. Like that was the main thing that came to me. The spread was about 11.5. I was thinking Gonzaga was going to win by somewhere in that 15, 20-point range. But to my surprise, anything can happen on an aircraft, all right? When you play basketball on an aircraft, anything can happen. When you're the Michigan State Spartans, anything can happen. And we actually found ourselves in this game with a chance to win the game at the end. So does that mean I could be happy about this? Or I don't know.
That's a personal question, I think. I think we're going to figure that out by the end of this episode. Maybe that's our goal for the episode is, but at the end, are we allowed to be happy or not? I also, just to set the tone, one, we got some good reception from people. A couple different people like hit me up personally to say they listened to the first episode of Unscripted and they think it's a good move with the structural changes we're making with you hosting. So I'm glad that's been well received. And thank you to everybody who said kind words there. Two, I'm really upset that I've set the tone for the season by saying that I'm going to be more positive, because even if I was never intending to do that, I'd be really positive this episode. So I feel like people are going to think everything I say this show is like for shits and giggles because I said I would do it. There were a lot of really positive takeaways that shocked me, quite honestly, from Michigan State. And I can't wait to talk about them. I also have poured a cocktail. I'm incredibly hungover for this episode, but I'm a trooper. And I'm a man of my word. And Tom Izzo coached circles around Mark Few. We'll talk more about that. But this is to Tom Izzo. You deserve this. You earned that. And I'm taking you seriously this year, Tom.
Wow, that means if you're pouring a cocktail for Tom Izzo, then that means he truly earned it. But let's go ahead and get into the game. Where to start with this game? I think I first have to state this fact. There were some words said by me personally about Mady Sissoko. And this was for lack of a term, this was a Mady Sissoko coming out party. Going up against one of the best big men in college basketball, Drew Timme. I thought he held his own. I thought he did what he had to do. All I really wanted from Mady is honestly to be a player that he rebounds, he catches anything that's thrown to him, he catches lobs, he plays hard, plays strong. And I thought he did that in this basketball game. And it really gave our team a boost. And the fact that he was able to play that well gives me more hope moving forward throughout the season, because I would actually go as far to say is I think that Mady can do that every game. I just don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think maybe he had this and he just didn't really get a chance to do what we saw in that basketball game. So I'm kind of banking on him being able to do this moving forward. Now, does that solve our front court issues, which I still think we still have? No. But I do feel better about our front court situation after that basketball game. And if I thought I was going to say that before that game, I was not going to say that. So I think that's my main positive takeaway from this basketball game, at least just focusing on the first half of the basketball game.
Yeah, it has to start with Mady. You're right. I think I first of all, credit to Mady. Great job. Like, you showed up and it was awesome to see. That was the best performance clearly of his whole career. He looks like a guy who can be a starting center on a good team.
Aircraft Sissoko.
Yeah. That's great. Man. He we'll get to more of just like the circumstances of this game at a certain point, but he I don't view anything he did as like, oh, he held his own against Drew Timme. And maybe that's a little spicy of me to say. I think what Mady is a guy who can now, we know for a fact, he can play 25 to 30 minutes a game, and he's not going to lose you basketball games, even against the best centers in the country on an aircraft carrier, right? Like, that's awesome. We were worried about that. We didn't know if that was the case. I think there's some clips of him defensively that look like the best defense he's played in his career that I'm a little skeptical would ever happen on a regular basketball game indoors. Down the stretch of that game, they essentially went entirely into ISO Drew Timmy mode, and that's when Gonzaga won the game. So Mady was struggling with fouls at that point, and that's another big part of just why did they lose this individual game. I mean, they had 4 guys with 4 fouls at the end of the game, or 3 guys with 4 fouls at the end of the game. So look, all in all, just from an individual standpoint for Mady, very impressive. Looked a lot better in a full-time starting center role than I envisioned that he would. And I think, the low floor of the Michigan State center position is now taken away. The question is just how high is the ceiling? And I think I still have those questions. But at the very least, like, could he be like a Miles Johnson at Rutgers type guy, maybe, with like less shot blocking?
I was just gonna say, honestly, no. I'm a Miles Johnson
No,
Rutgers stan. No, he can't, because Miles Johnson actually had impeccable timing when blocking shots. Like he was very good, because he wasn't actually super athletic. He was more of a heftier kind of player, but his timing and his rotations were always on point. I don't know if Mady will be able to replicate that. You know what, Greg? I gotta say this though. I think you're saying on an aircraft carrier a little too much during this whole spiel. Is there something you want to kind of get out there
let's
about this basketball game?
Let's talk about it. So I, again, no stranger to me getting in Twitter fights with people, but this one I really didn't even intend to do any. Sometimes, I'll play the troll game. Sometimes I'll go on Twitter and I'll tweet something that I know might stir the pot a little bit, and I want to go back and forth with people. This was not intended to be that. Like, this was just an honest thought as I was recording my daily picks video for the day on, like, damn, I really wish we could watch these two teams in a normal basketball game, because I think, like, on paper, the way that Michigan State should have had the best shot at beating Gonzaga was bombing threes, and they obviously couldn't do that in this game. Now, looking back, maybe it looks stupid for thinking that was their best way to compete, but I think the aircraft carrier played a huge role in this, because I think Tom Izzo has coached a team in this setting before and knew what to expect. And he coached circles around Mark Few in the first half cart. I mean, you can go back and watch the film of this. I did. I'm sure you did too. But Michigan State's game plan in the first half was to essentially leave Gonzaga guys wide open from 3. And now, this is why I'm saying with a grain of salt, because Gonzaga on paper card is one of the best shooting teams in the country. There's no way, if that game is played indoors, that Tom Izzo's leaving Julian Strother and Rasir Bolton wide open. And he was doing that. That was intentional in this game, and it worked. So I give Tom Izzo all the credit in the world for that, but I think you got to be very honest with ourselves about, like, that game plan probably would not at all even be a thing if they were playing indoors. And it just is. Like, let's not avoid the simple fact that playing this game in 8-mile-an-hour winds with the temperature dropping to the point where the fans are all shivering in the second half, like, that's a totally different experience than an indoor basketball game. And me, the basketball purist that I am, just wishes this would have just been a normal game so we could know more about who these teams really are.
Okay, but the reason why they're shivering though is because it's California people. California people shiver when it's 72 outside.
You're right.
It's a little,
maybe that. I thought I saw a few Jackson Kohler trembles. Maybe that's why he's a little Californian, right?
We'll have to get to that. But I will say this, as far as Tom Izzo coaching circles around Mark Few in the first half. The defensive game plan I thought was perfect, and I thought the guys executed it to a T, which in its own right is something that I'm happy about, just watching Michigan State play, because when you have a team that maybe they lack a little bit of talent, like we said in the previous episodes, the margin for error is always smaller. So the fact that this team was able to come out and execute that game plan in the first half, I mean, they looked so good. I believe they went up at one point in the second half, probably 12 points. 14 points. Yeah, I mean, they were able to open up a huge lead. They were doing a great job of digging down. Our guards defensively, the hands they had, Tyson Walker digging down, AJ Hoggard digging down on the guards, and basically making guys like Rasir Bolton and Julian Strother beat you from outside. I mean, it was working to perfection. It was working to perfection until it didn't.
Let me say this. I've clearly been very skeptical of the Michigan State backcourt. I've been very open in going back and forth with people and antagonizing them. I don't think Michigan State's backcourt is particularly special. I don't think it stands out in the Big Ten. I still nothing in this game really changed that for me of how I feel about those individual players and the groupings that they are. But they destroyed Gonzaga's guards. I mean, and I don't know. I don't know if that says more about Gonzaga's guards or Michigan State's guards, because on paper, everybody loves Gonzaga's guards. Everybody was ranking Nolan Hickman and Hunter Salas and Malachi Smith as like a top 3 backcourt combination in the country. And Nolan Hickman was horrible in this game. And I think it was a little self-induced, but I think a lot of it was what Michigan State's guards were doing. They were getting up in his shit and daring him to shoot, like we said. And I don't know. I think it's not altering my opinion that this Michigan State backcourt is just good, not great, but it has my attention because they absolutely destroyed Gonzaga's guards in that game from start to finish.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we knew that this is the game that AJ Hoggard lives for. He's a big game player, whether it's, now I'm not necessarily saying that every single big game we're going to get like 20 and 10 out of Hoggard or something like that. But when it just comes to the moment and wanting to like be in that big game moment and getting the crowd involved and talking shit and getting in Nolan Hickman's like right up in his jersey, like that's what AJ Hoggard loves to do in these situations. And in the first half, I thought he was doing a great job of utilizing the pick and roll. Mady was catching passes off the roll. I thought he was doing a great job of hitting guys. Would have loved to see Joey hit a couple more threes in this game. He struggled mightily. Joseph Jamal really let us down. And you hate to see it. Because you know what the Michigan State fan base loves to do. They love to pile on Joey when he has a bad game. So I kind of hated to see that because if he hits, I mean, I think he had five out of this game. I believe he had 2 points in the whole game. We can't have that.
He was bad, but we always come across like we're making excuses for Joey. I don't want to make any excuses for Joey. He was horrible in this game. Joey Hauser was the worst player on the floor in this game for both teams.
Offensively and defensively.
Yeah, he was horrible. That said, the thing with Joey to me has always been expectations. And I think he's judged unfairly against expectations that were never realistic. And I don't know who set those expectations. I know that Brendan Quinn was writing pieces about how he was an all-conference player who could lead the Big Ten in assists when he transferred in. I know that Tom Izzo was giving very rosy press. I mean, listen to Tom Izzo a week ago saying Joey Hauser's the guy he thought he was getting 2 years ago now because he had a big developmental offseason. Let's just stop with all that. Let's just accept that Joey Hauser is what he is. And I think what he is a much better player than on paper the Michigan State fan base would tell you he is. Like dudes that are that tall that can pull 6-7 rebounds a game in 20 minutes that shoot 42% from 3 on a season, Cart, those don't grow on trees. And he did that last year. And he won you an NCAA tournament game last year.
Oh, yes.
He's going to be streaky. He's going to have duds. Often those duds come against the more talented teams he plays against, which stinks. But this shouldn't change anyone's perception of Joey. And he'll bounce back. It is Joey Hauser. It is what he is. He's a non-all Big Ten player who will get you 10 points most nights. Some nights he'll go for 0. Some nights he'll go for 20.
I mean, I don't know about non-all Big Ten player. I would actually lean that I think Joey can actually find himself on the way to an all Big Ten team this year.
Maybe. I guess that's fair. I think that's the question with everybody on Michigan State, though, is like, which one is it? It's going to be somebody. We just don't know who yet. Also, lastly, like, again, to the aircraft carrier, drink every time I say aircraft carrier. But like, come on, was Joey Hauser going to play well on an aircraft carrier?
Yeah, no.
What was he going to do? He was going to be bombing threes in 8-mile-an-hour winds. Like that's not his game, you guys. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's true. So for everything that was positive about this game, and I think honestly, I want to commend you on being, fairly positive besides the aircraft carrier comments. Now let's get into the negatives of this game. And we're going to have to start with Jackson Kohler. Me and you are both big fans of Jackson Kohler. I'm a big fan of what he's going to do moving forward as Michigan State career. I think we've gone on record saying that teams playing against him moving down are going to hate him. Fan bases are going to hate him because he plays, with a little bit of an edge, passionate, shit talking. He was not ready for the situation. It's a whole different ball game playing college basketball, and I just don't think he was ready for this game. And I hope it doesn't kill his confidence. And because you don't want to see a freshman put in a situation where because he was getting murdered. I mean, to be honest with you, on both ends.
Yeah, he was, and I think anyone that was, I don't want to diss a segment of the fan base, but anybody that has really seen Jackson Kohler's film and is just logical about the game of basketball probably thought this was a realistic outcome. Like, if he's only playing minutes at the 5, which right now he is, he's backing up Mady Sissoko, and whenever Mady Sissoko leaves the game, Jackson Kohler's on the floor, right? That's his role. If you're thrown into a game where nobody can shoot from outside and your matchup in your second career college game as a 6'7.5" center is Drew Timme, on a night when no one can shoot from outside, you're toast. And that's what happened. And we shouldn't be surprised by that. I think there's a lot of centers in the country cart that are much worse than Drew Timme that will have their way offensively with Jackson Kohler this year. That's unfortunate, but I think it's realistic. Jackson has to make them pay offensively, and he's capable of that, but he's a long way from doing that this year even. He's a long way from what he will be in the future for sure, which is still going to be a very good player. But for this year, like, he's got to find a way to have a productive role on this team because Mady can't play 40 minutes. And if Mady can't play 40 minutes, then the only other option is Jackson Kohler or it's Joey Hauser. But we know Tom Izzo wants to play a true center, and he views Jackson Kohler as a true center still right now. I just don't know how you view this guy as a center card. He's so small. He's so small. And I don't know that changes in a year. Maybe it does. Maybe just with weight training, he bulks up, but he really needs to get taller. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know what that does for him long term, Yeah.
Two things for me. One, I actually think that, with all the talk about Jackson getting faster and, getting his foot speed up, I think he's too thin. I think he might have did a little bit too much conditioning, because not only is he, shorter than an average center, but he's also kind of thin, or at least thinner than he used to be. And another thing that I've noticed from these past 2 games that other teams are going to notice when playing us is if you send a double team at Jackson,
yes,
he shits himself. He does not know what to do. He does not know what to do. So that's something that needs to be, fixed moving forward. Whether it's making a quick decision, whether it's maybe going just, using that baseline spin move that he loves so much before the double team comes. But I'm telling you right now, there's coaches all across the country saying that if you send a double team at Jackson Kohler, he's gonna panic. He's not gonna know what to do, and teams are gonna do that to him. So, but like I said, that you expect that out of freshmen. Like I wasn't expecting Jackson to come out here and put up 20, 10, and 5. Like, that would be peachy if it happened, but I'm not expecting that to happen. I got some sense. So, it's a long season. I think he'll improve, but he's definitely got to work on dealing with double teams, because Gonzaga was killing us with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're throwing him into the gauntlet too, right? Which we knew we were doing. He gets Drew Timme, he gets Oscar Tshiebwe back to back. I'm actually really, really fascinated to see what he's going to look like against Villanova, because, I mean, Eric Dixon's a totally different challenge than the 2 best centers in the country who want to play on the post. And Dixon will step outside and shoot it. So I'm very curious to see, not to do like a game preview, but I'm very curious how Tom Izzo is going to approach that. Like, is that a game for Mady Sissoko? Do we want Mady Sissoko chasing a 40% shooting center on the perimeter? I wouldn't think we do. And I don't think Mady's really the type of guy to make you pay in the post. So that could be a Jackson Kohler game. Like, I have that marked as like maybe Jackson gets 15, 20 minutes in that game and kind of can show what he can do. Because I don't think Eric Dixon one-on-one could guard Jackson Kohler. But yeah, the doubles is a problem right now. It's interesting to me that both now in Grand Valley and in Gonzaga, 2 wildly different situations, but both teams were sending doubles at Jackson Kohler. And I don't know if that's a scouting thing. Maybe the tape's out on him. Maybe they're just like, hey, let's blitz the freshman and see what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to get double teamed every game, but anybody who watches film right now is going to say, hey, let's just double that kid. He'll turn it over. And yeah, I don't know. The footwork stuff, like, I think this is something he can learn from on film, right? Because he's so advanced on all of his offensive repertoire that he just needs to be more prepared to know a double is going to come. And a double in college means it's a 6'11" dude and a 6'6" dude. It doesn't mean, guys, you can just turn and pass over like you did wherever you were a year ago, you know?
Yeah, he's a player that if I'm putting like a bet down, like I'm not going to worry about that. I think it is like just a film thing that he can, work on, throwing it out of double teams. But it's something that's going to be, if I'm, like I said earlier, like if I'm a coach of another team, I'm sending a double at him every time. And it's not really he's just an offensive maestro. It's we know he's going to panic when he sends a double team at him. But, I think who else are we missing here? Oh, we got to talk about Malik Hall. I thought Malik Hall had a great game in this game just based off of pure aggressiveness. Like, I think the thing we didn't want to see in this game is Malik taking 2 shots. And I thought he did a great job of exposing mismatches in this game. Foul trouble hampered him, unfortunately. There were some ticky-tack calls by the Stripes down the stretch in this game. Never want to blame Stripes, but you never want to see players foul out on ticky-tack calls. Don't laugh, Greg.
No, I'm laughing. I sent a couple tweets from people that we saw that, stood out to me. Look, every fan of every team in every game in the country can blame the refs. I do it. You do it. Our listeners do it. It is what it is. It's rarely ever an actual data point in a loss. And I think these refs, I would classify them as inconsistent both ways. And that's usually how reffing works. If you're bad refs, it hurts both teams. And Michigan State was in the bonus in the first half with 12 minutes on the clock in this game. So it did not hurt them a ton. Down the stretch, there were definitely some just like, what was that calls? But I do not view any sort of officiating as like that hurt Michigan State's chances to win this game. That's just me, though.
Well, I think the officiating hurt us just in the fact is if we get in foul trouble, you saw that what the second half showed me just based off of not even looking at the actual game is that depth is an issue with this team. And if you get us in foul trouble, it's going to rear its ugly head. We have Malik Hall with 4 fouls. We have Joey fouling out, which forces us to, go deep into our bench. And
wait. But when Joey fouled out, it was a good thing, is what I was told from Twitter. So
no, it's not a good thing. We cannot get in foul trouble. We are foul trouble away from losing the game. We're a turned ankle away from being in real deep shit because we have on this team, I would say, six playable guys that you're confident on being on the floor with. Does that sound about right?
I mean, Aiken's in the starters for sure. I think you can throw Pierre Brooks in there right now.
I'll throw Pierre Brooks in there.
I would say 7. I would say 7, which is more than Michigan has for the record. I did my Michigan numbers on this. They have 6.
Mm-hmm. So. I saw that. And the 2 guys you just named as well are wings and guards too. So if it comes down to foul trouble with big men, we're going to have to, dip into guys like Carson Cooper or Jason Witten or something at that point. So, I saw a tweet from somebody, and when we mention tweets and things like that, we're not like throwing shots at anybody. We're just kind of commenting on it and, going off what they say. And I saw somebody say, we don't need the transfer portal because Mady's playing like this. Like if Mady plays like this, the people are like, oh, quiet all the talk about needing a transfer center. No, that is not the case. What we want is Mady to play like this and also have an option behind him and have depth with this team. If a guy is in foul trouble, you were able to put somebody in. A transfer center would have went a long, long way in that game on Friday.
I'm going to say something spicy, and then I'm going to pull up Twitter receipts, but I'm going to say something spicy, Cart. Prepare yourself.
I don't know if I am, but
it's not that we need how good would a backup for Mady Sissoko look, right? how good would a starter over Mady Sissoko look and have Mady be your backup? Like, let's just be real about this. Adding a player to this center rotation was not going to do anything to anyone. Like, I get you don't want to piss people off, but like, what was a pissed off Mady Sissoko going to do? If he tried to transfer, the best school that would call him is Valparaiso. Like, let's just be real. His body of work and his pedigree of who he is was not going to get anyone important to call him. So, like, would that change going forward? Yeah, sure. Now that we've seen him in a role, and there's a lot to be said about the fact that Tom Izzo is almost like, in a weird way, he's getting to the result that I wanted, and you and I both wanted, right? We wanted him to have 13 bodies, but to just play 8 of them 30 minutes, you know? And instead, now he's going to play 8 guys 30 minutes. It's just he doesn't have 4 bodies in case something goes wrong. I still don't get why you couldn't do both. Weirdly, the product on the court might be better because he's hamstrung himself, honestly. And I'm willing to accept that and give him credit for it if he figures it out. But you're right. We're one stub toe away from being absolutely screwed. And I still, like, you know who else looks good? Mady Sissoko looks good this year. You know who else looks good? Manny Bates at Butler, who had 25 and 12 in their first game. Like, there was no stopping.
There was options. There was options everywhere. Jalen Thomas, Manny Bates, shit. I would have took Ryan Young from Northwestern.
Yeah. And so, okay, to bring it full circle, because I said I was going to pull some Twitter receipts up. The spiciest tweet that I had during the game, which we also need to go back and read my Izzo praise tweet, by the way. Did you see that one? Did you see my Izzo praise tweet?
I think I might have muted all tweets with your Twitter handle and Izzo in them.
I hate
for sanctity purposes.
Okay, then let's play a little game real quick. Give me a 5-star, 1 to 5-star rating on this tweet from me at 7:49 p.m. nearing halftime of the Michigan State Gonzaga game. I make fun of Izzo a lot, but good Lord, this team is so Izzo to its core. So much FU to it. The competitive edge. I underestimated how much that matters. Many of his best teams haven't been his most talented. When Mady cussed out Hauser the first possession, we could see it.
Oh my God. I want to pin that tweet.
That's
a 5-star. And this is not just you saying this, because we're in a group chat with some other college basketball people and media members. And the first thing that they said at halftime was, we underestimated this team because they got that shit to them. They got that Izzo Spartan dog. You know, I know you love to say wolf, Spartan dog, but this team has that feel, and they got some shit to them.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. They, I've been verbalizing it as this in the last couple of days. They play desperate. And I think it's because individually they are desperate. Like
they have to.
Well, they have to, one, but go up and down this roster. I mean, what guy on this roster doesn't have something to prove, right? Like Hauser, and even Hauser has stuff to prove. Like I would say Hauser and Hall are the two most that are like solidified, but like AJ Hoggard
Hall still has a lot to prove for me because of the inconsistency last year.
Everybody else on this roster is either playing for their spot or playing to prove people wrong or something. And, you know, again, I really do think on paper, this is one of his least talented rosters I've ever seen. And I don't mean that as an insult, but I think, being honest, there's not a guy on this roster other than Jaden Akins that I think will ever sniff an NBA uniform. And I think I wrongfully in the offseason just assumed that meant this team couldn't compete. 20 minutes on a aircraft carrier showed me I was wrong there. Like this team is the ethos of who Tom Izzo is in a way that even his most talented teams the last couple of years were not. And I think that bodes really well for them. But back to the Mady tweet. This was my spicy one that people didn't like very much. I got to find it now. I'm scrolling. Sorry, a lot of Michigan and Manny Bates tweets in here that were not great. That was tough, by the way, if nobody watched that.
Clinic.
Okay, tie game against the best center in the country. And Michigan State's best option is now Malik Hall. The portal approach mattered, folks. That's all I said. And I was hit with, you'll like this, I was hit with a response from Sparty Fan on Twitter that said, dude, come on, how many games have 50 fouls in it? At first, I thought this was satire. And then 48 hours later, he responds to his own tweet and says, I rescind this comment. All around college basketball today had 50 fouls. So like
that is college basketball. You literally can't touch people.
But that's the point, is like this, like, I think people are framing this game as if like, oh, they just got in foul trouble. That won't happen again. No, that's going to happen all the time, because the reason they got in foul trouble is because Mady had to play every second of this game that he could. And that's not going to go away. Like when we play Oscar Tshiebwe, Mady has to be on the court 30 minutes minimum. And if Mady's on the court for 30 minutes, he's picking up 4 fouls minimum.
Yes.
So that's where like just a Julius Marble level guy. And I know I don't want to blame Marble for going home, but like they don't need anything crazy. They just need a body, dude, that can get 4 fouls and save your center from doing that. And without it, I think we're going to see a lot of games where Mady, where Malik, and where Joey end up with 3-4 fouls, and you're struggling for answers down the stretch.
Yeah, and I was surprised we didn't get any Carson Cooper minutes in this game. Just to go out there and just to use some fouls, honestly.
You saw Izzo's post-game statement on that, right?
I did not.
Oh my God, I have to send you the clip. We need to talk about this.
I really didn't watch any of the post-game presser stuff, because I actually watched the game again after I was done being sad.
It sounds like you've blocked and muted me on all platforms right now, which is fair, by the way. I mean,
I lash out at times, you know this.
It's early in the season. It is what it is. But no, he lit Carson Cooper on fire when asked, like someone after the game just was like, did you think about putting Cooper in at all? And he was like, no, if I would have thought about it, I would have put him on the floor. And then like he went on, he was like, so write that. Like Carson needs to get ready. He needs to be ready. Write that. So like, I think he missed a meeting or something, like between the lines. It appears something happened that Izzo needed to publicly antagonize him about. I get the sense that Carson Cooper is a part of the rotation, and we should expect him to play whenever he takes care of his business. But it was very interesting. I mean, one game into his career, and Izzo's lighting him on fire publicly like that.
Yeah, also Carson Cooper's got a lot of balls trying to miss a meeting. No basketball player should miss a meeting, but there's certain players that should certainly not miss meetings.
I think that's part of this, though, is like Izzo's like, dude, like I picked you up from IMG's C team, and I'm about to give you 5 minutes a game, and really you're gonna mess something up.
You're missing a meeting. Really? Like, come on, dog. You were halfway to Vermont. You were about to be a catamount, and I'm trying to put you in against Gonzaga, and you miss a meeting.
Yeah,
that's nasty behavior. But before we move on to our Champions Classic little mini preview, what?
I don't know where you're going, but there's one thing I absolutely need us to go in depth on. Like, this is the thing I'm most fascinated by and excited about. AJ Hoggard. I want to talk AJ Hoggard. I want to talk how.
Well, I was about to talk about the last play of the game. So could we do that all full circle with this one?
Can we do some AJ then leading into the last play, because they're tied together clearly.
Okay.
But so where I'm coming from with AJ, right? You and I believe this is AJ Hoggard's team. I think Michigan State fans in general believe this is AJ Hoggard's team. I think AJ very much believes it's his team. I thought from watching this game that for much of the game, AJ Hoggard was the best player in a Michigan State uniform. Mady probably had the best numbers, but I don't think for a second any of us were like, oh, Mady is our best player, right? Like he was playing great. AJ was the best player. That to me is what Michigan State needs. Like if Michigan State's going to go toe-to-toe with the number 2 team in the country, that means AJ Hoggard's playing well. AJ also had the moment, which was one of the colder things I've seen a player do in a while early in the game, where he has his big, I don't know if it was like an assist or what the play was right before it, but it turned into a Gonzaga timeout immediately into close-up on Hoggard, where he goes, I'm here. I'm fucking here. That was cold. Love that. But so I just want to understand with AJ, and I want to know where you're at with AJ, because I think we saw once again the highs and the lows of AJ Hoggard in this game. And I'm not all the way there that AJ Hoggard can be your best player and you're a good basketball team. And I know that's going to be controversial, but I think there's a lot of negatives to AJ, the player, that just rear their head. And like, I think it's great he's that competitive and he's feisty and he's the heart and soul of the team, 100%. But also, if he's the heart and soul, isn't the ball in his hands on the last play of the game? Isn't he the one making the play?
Yeah,
And
so
he was pissed. He was pissed.
Yeah, he was pissed. And honestly, like, for good reason, I'm with AJ. I would have been pissed too, because in my eyes, the best option there is an AJ Hoggard, Malik Hall pick and roll, put Tyson on the wing. I think Jay Nichols is out there, put him on the wing as well, and just run a pick and roll and trust AJ to make the right decision. That would have been the play that I would have wanted out of the timeout. And AJ was visibly upset after that game, like you said. And the thing that I fear is that when we go back in these past state teams, there always seems to be one player that, Izzo and the player just kind of, butt heads or disagree on certain things. Like, we look back to last year, Marcus Bingham and Tom always had their little thing going on there. And that last play, AJ is probably saying to himself, is my coach doesn't trust me. Like, I'm the point guard of this basketball team, and my coach doesn't trust me to run a pick and roll on this last play and make the right play to win that game. And that probably hurts him, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think it does. And I think this is kind of where I'm going with my Hoggard stuff, is like, I think I just have a hard time with him. I have a hard time with him. He's not a complete player, Cart, because, like, for all the good that he's capable of, for all the times he can get downhill and he can get to the rim and he can make the flashy pass and he could lead the country in assists, genuinely. He's that special. Like, I still sort of view him in the Xavier Simpson, but bigger range, which, like...
and I don't want to cut you off because I want you to finish your point, so I'm sorry about this. But you saw in the second half of the game, I thought Gonzaga did a better job on the pick and rolls of just literally drop coverage going under. And they were like, I mean, AJ could have had elbow jumpers wide open every time he wanted, but he doesn't want to take that shot because I don't think he can hit that shot.
Well, that's
so his limitations are there.
But it's skill limitations, and it's also some between the ears limitations, though, to me, because I think that he is such a fireball of emotion and tenacity that when it goes well, it's great. But I see a little, like, you need ultimately, like, let's compare him to Draymond, which is probably unfair to compare any player ever in Michigan State history to Draymond. But Draymond could be all the feistiness and all the fire and all the shit talking and all the toughness. But he was also every damn day, every possession, stability. There's none of that with AJ. AJ is, when he's going, and he can be the guy. But when he's not, he is disengaged, and he is bad body language, and he is checked out. And we saw it. I mean, it sounds stupid, but we saw it at Moneyball, dude. Like, I'm not sure he's wired like a franchise guy. I'm not sure he's wired like the connector guy. I think he wants to be the alpha, but it's on his terms. And I don't know that his terms, like I said, leads to good basketball for a good team. It might on some days be great, but on some days it's going to be really bad. And I think in the second half of this game, which I really want to get your opinion on, in the second half of this game, I thought that when Gonzaga made their run, I thought that the ball was in AJ Hoggard's hands every single play. They kept trying to post him up. And I don't know if that's going to be like the go-to, the same way it used to be like a Denzel Valentine ball screen. Like, apparently right now in a crunch time situation, our plan is AJ Hoggard on the block, see what he can do. And he went to the line a lot. He made a lot of free throws. I give him credit for looking a lot better there. Also a little skeptical that Drew Timme was missing all his free throws due to the wind, but AJ Hoggard made all of his. Maybe he made them due to the wind. I don't know. I just want to see it indoors a little bit. But
aircraft.
I'm just like, he had about 10 chances to put the game away, right? And I thought it resulted in some turnovers, yes, he got to the line, but he also shot 2 threes with a lot of time on the shot clock that were questionable shots. And I think, like, from the outside looking in, I don't think Tom trusts AJ Hoggard all the way yet. And I think that's why on the final play of the game, it's not just AJ Hoggard's world. And I don't know how that dynamic continues the rest of the season. Am I crazy for that? What do you think of that?
No, you're not crazy for that. And I'm actually interested to get you, because I don't think I'll get my point on. I don't think you think I'm going to, say this point, because I'm actually on Izzo's side, I think, on this one with his regards to AJ. And this is why, though, because there's a difference between being an alpha and then being a guy that just wants to be the alpha. To me, AJ, he's in the moment, he's in the game, but that's like when that's when everything's going well. You know what I'm saying? And when things are going well, when he's talking shit, when the crowd's hype, he's there.
Wait.
But but to be a guy that the coach trusts you and puts the ball in your hands, outside factors cannot affect how you play the game. You got to play basketball the same way. Like, you can't be that guy and be, shifted too much by outside noise, if that makes sense.
Am I getting the F word vibes here from you with AJ Hoggard?
What F word?
Front runner?
There are some front runner tendencies.
There's a lot of big dog on the block barking when things are going well or when they're not on a basketball court, aka Big Ten Media Day. When
the going gets tough, the tough get going.
We called it with Hunter the year before. We said front runner tendencies, not sure he can be the best player on a team. And I'm not explicitly saying that because I think AJ Hoggard is the best player on this team, but okay. I mean, that game was there for the taking. The ball was in AJ Hoggard's hands a lot. It wasn't taken. And then in the final play, the coach went away from him because he didn't fully trust him. And I think that's just, it's going to be fascinating to watch play out, because there's one guy, if there's one person on earth who believes most strongly AJ Hoggard is the best player on this team, it's AJ Hoggard. And if this continues, it's going to be real. I could see it going south is all I'm saying,
Right. It can work in our favor, but it could also go south, like you said. But let's put a little bow on this game. As far as, we are unscripted podcast. We are not a moral victory podcast. Okay. It's a loss is a loss. We're not hanging banners. We're not doing that. But we'll turn this into a game. 1 star through 5 star, Greg. How many stars do you give this game?
That butt was so good. We're not a moral victories. We're not a hang the banner pod. But
are we hanging what?
We might hang a banner. I mean, for exceeding my expectations, 5 stars. I mean, this game has totally changed the trajectory for me on this team. And the part of that's because I was more down on this team than I probably should have been. And I'm sure people will love to hear me say that. But like I said, they don't have an NBA player to me. And all their best players are guards that I don't necessarily think work together. I was skeptical about it on paper until we saw it. And quite honestly, I still am skeptical about it until we see it not on an aircraft carrier. We'll see how it looks after Kentucky. But this team very clearly isn't going to be a bad basketball team because of what they have in here and in here. I'm pointing to my heart for anyone listening to this. This is a coincidental Tom Izzo team, right? Like this is his ethos.
They got that dog in them.
Right. And that's a real thing. It is a real thing. As much as I want to make fun of it, it's a real thing. So I think they're going to be hungry. They're going to be desperate, and they're going to constantly be the underdog. And they'll probably win a lot of games they shouldn't this year. They're not going to be a bubble team. I said they'd be a bubble team. They're not going to be a bubble team, clearly, after that performance. So I'll give it 5 stars. I really will give it 5 stars. I think it sucks he didn't win the game because it was there for the taking, but nobody thought they were going to win this game. They shouldn't win this game. Gonzaga is a better basketball team than this team. So I think it changed the trajectory for me in a big way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'll say 4 because we lost the game. Can't give it a 5. Can't give it the 5th star because we lost
No,
the
that
basketball
that would
game.
be that would be hanging the banner, a five
That
star
would
for a
that would be
loss.
5-star would be hanging the banner. But I agree with your sentiment that we're gonna learn a lot more about this team with this Kentucky game, and matching up against that team, not on the aircraft carrier. And we're gonna see what this team's really made of. I do feel a lot higher on this team just as far as the DNA and the guys just being dogs and seeing how far that gets us this year. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's just embrace it. Let's embrace the underdog. Let's embrace we got no NBA players. Let's go out there and try to outdog people. Like I guess that's
Yeah.
the way we got to do it this year, and that's fine.
I think I said this last year. Like Tom Izzo could take 3 guys from his local rec and you and me, and he would split with Michigan. That's essentially how I feel about this entire season. Like, I think this whole season is a Tom Izzo FU to all the haters and doubters. And I'm one of them. I am a loud one of them. And he's probably going to win. He's probably going to defeat me and everybody like me who said this team was not going to be good at all. Like, there's something special about that man and the program he's built on the basketball court. And this team is as much that we've seen in a very long time. They just play his way. And he's either going to go down swinging or it's going to work. And if it works, this is a feather in Tom Izzo's cap in a big, big, big way.
Like, yeah, and I hope it worked. Like, I have no problem being wrong. Because if I'm wrong about this team and they go a lot farther, that'd be great. And we'll give them their flowers and we will give Tom Izzo his flowers. But, I guess we'll see.
Also, free my dog Jaden Akins real quick. Hashtag.
You coming from a foot injury. Let's relax. We'll work him in.
Hashtag free Akins is officially a movement because
no.
Listen, when we're in a 1 possession game against a top 5 team in the country on a nationally televised game, the biggest game of the season so far, and with 5 minutes left in the game, there's 3 guards on the court for Michigan State. We're playing 3 guards at once, and none of them are Jaden Akins. We're playing Trey Holloman.
You ever had a stress fracture, Gregory?
We're playing Trey Holloman.
You ever had a stress fracture, Gregory?
You know what I found interesting, Cart?
What?
The play was literally drawn up for 4 different options that weren't Jaden Akins, and the guy who took the shot was Jaden Akins.
Well,
that's a notable note.
All right. Well, you know what? We're 2 games into the season, so we'll see how
it's a notable note. It says something about if you're going to keep drawing up crunch time plays for Tyson Walker, if you're going to, I don't know. Yeah. How many times did AJ Hoggard have the ball in his hands? Yeah, Didn't work out. Trey Holloman.
I'm chalking that up to him coming back from an injury. But we already put the bow on the goddamn
my dog
game,
Akins.
Free my dog Akins. We put the bow on the game, Greg. Okay.
Can we talk about his off the backboard pull up jumper or no?
Okay. Aircraft.
It was looking a little buffkiny. I'm just saying.
Aircraft.
Okay. All right. Free my dog. That's all I'm saying. He's a good player. Team needs good players.
That is true. He's our NBA prospect in my eyes. But let's touch real quickly on the Champions Classic. We did just a little bit there, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But as far as matching up, I don't like this matchup for our team. And we're not an aircraft carrier. That's my 2 biggest takeaways going into this game. My 2 biggest previews of this game. So we're going to find out about this team.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's very good. Physically, they're going to have the advantage pretty much everywhere, other than I do think like the guards can punk Kentucky's guards a little bit. Like Severe Wheeler's small, and Hoggard should be able to exploit that offensively. You also don't really have to worry about Severe Wheeler as a shooter. So in a weird way, that bodes well. I think this will be a competitive game. I don't expect a blowout, but what I do expect is the center spot to look a lot more sore than it did on the carrier against Timmy. I think Sheboy gets 20 rebounds in this game. And, if you want to call that punking Sissoko or anyone, maybe, but like he's going to be so productive in this game. And you're not going to be able to just put 5 guys in the paint the way they did against Gonzaga on the boat. So
right.
We'll see.
And I'm scared for this game because if I pick one big in the country that can draw fouls, like Oscar Sheboy is going to get fouls on you because he's going to be a relentless worker, and he's the type of player that draws a lot of fouls. So, like I said, we're going to see what this team's about for real, in a gym, no aircraft, playing one of the best big men in the country. And I think one thing is we can count on is I think Tom will have the team prepared. I think the game plan against Gonzaga and how they came out showed that this team will be prepared, and we don't have to worry about slow starts. So I'm interested to see this game. Can I get a score prediction out of you, or is that asking too much?
I'll go like a spread or a number prediction, I guess. I don't want to go like full final score. I think Kentucky wins by 9.
Yeah, I think I got Kentucky by. I like that 9-2. Yeah, give me Kentucky by 12.
I think it's a game that is never particularly like up in the air. Like I think Kentucky kind of controls it, but I think it's never a blowout either. Like it's in striking distance constantly, but MSU doesn't ever get over the hump.
Like we'll cut it to like 6 at certain points and be feeling good about ourselves, but then they'll kind of stretch out the lead a little more.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. But I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. We said we were going to do short. What?
I'm sorry. I want to throw out, I'm going to be at the Champions Classic, which I'm very excited about. I'll be hosting a couple pregame shows at a bar in Indy with the Field of 68 folks. And after the game, I believe I'll be on camera as well, doing a post-game show. So can't wait for that. You can find us on the Field of 68 for all of that if you want to watch any of that, but it should be really fun. And then you and I, we think, are going to be at the Villanova game Friday. We think.
If we get MX credentials, please.
What's a guy got to do to get a credential around here?
Come on, man. We're putting on for the podcast. We're putting on for Michigan State. Damn it.
Probably just apply for it, right? We haven't applied.
Yeah, true. We'll probably get on that after this. If you survive, I don't know. It seems like that cocktail was kind of beating your ass for that last.
Is it? Am I cooking a little bit?
No, you were like doing this and like, sounded like it was about to take you
frog
out.
In the throat.
Yeah.
Can we end with a cheers? Can we cheers to something?
We can. We will do that. Cheers to Gregory, who is going to be a dad, everybody. How about that?
Oh, we're allowed to break that publicly now? You're doing that?
What? You posted on the Instagram.
Wife posted on Instagram. But yeah,
it's out there. Congratulations to the newest father to be, Gregory. There's a lot of guys that go on great runs when they have kids. So hopefully Greg can be one of those, betting wise, podcast wise, life wise. So I'll cheers to that. And cheers to Michigan State keeping the game close. Fuck it. Moral cheers for that.
Listen, I don't want to be too out of pocket, but literally the day that I found out we were expecting, I went to the golf course. Like I pulled the, obviously we celebrated, we got some food. We were like all emotional, happy, crying. And then I was like, I'm going to go play 9 holes because this was a couple months ago. I birdied my first 2 holes after knowing that I was an expecting father. Just want to throw that out there. As far as dad strength goes, birdie 3 hours after finding that out. That's something. It's a data point.
Impressive. That is okay. We're gonna put the little feather in the cap on that one. But hey, I get to wrap it up. I'm the host now. Damn it!
I didn't get my cheers.
Oh my heavens, the Betsy. Go, Gregory.
I'm backseat driving you so hard. It's so funny. I can't help it though. I want to cheers to Tom Izzo. Because he was the one figure in that game that was most important to the result, in my opinion. I think that he put his guys in every possible situation they could to succeed. Whether or not that continues, I don't know. If it doesn't, trust me, I'll be critical. If it does, trust me, I will praise him. And right now, through one game, was a hell of a start to the season for Mr. Izzo.
I would choose that, and proud of you for saying that too, Greg. But we're gonna wrap up this episode of Unscripted now that Gregory has done his cheers. Be sure to subscribe. No, there is no one more. I'm ending it right now.
It's a good one.
All right, go ahead, man. See, this is why I can't be a host. I just give in to you. You asked for one more point.
Last one. If you think I'm messed up in the head, imagine the most stressed I am about being a father in the future. Imagine what my future son or daughter is going to be a fan of. I'm putting that person in hell if they follow my line. Like, I don't know how to raise them. I have no idea how to raise my future child, Cart.
Well, drop in the comments below which way we should lead Gregory's future daughter and or son.
I'm terrified.
Can you promise me one thing?
What's that?
Do not let them be a fan of this football team.
It got a win today.
Yeah, there goes Bryce Young down the toilet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Bryce. God, what a stupid team. But all right, now we're officially going to wrap this up with another episode of Unscripted. Be sure to subscribe. We will be back with another episode after the Champions Classic as well, probably talking the next game. Looking forward to Villanova. And hopefully, honestly, I think we need to get a state player on here. But they don't really like to answer us. I don't know if they like us.
We could get Coleman Hawkins on. That could be fun.
That actually would be kind of funny. We can get Coleman Hawkins and Brandon Wood.
Hey, no shots to Brandon Wood. I love B Wood.
I love B Wood
Inside the Neighborhood. If you want to listen to his pod, I listen to it. It's a good pod.
Definitely. But I'm gonna wrap up this episode. For Carter Elliott, I am out. And for Gregory Waddell, he is out. I'm not letting him speak anymore. Peace.